So when we're here, you are choosing to use Google Forms for any number of reasons. Some of the most basic uses could be for a quick entrance card or an exit card. Perhaps you're only going to have 3 or 5 questions. Another easy use, which you have done as a teacher, have taken as a teacher, is a survey. So that's another way for you to use it. You can also go a little more in depth for perhaps a longer, lengthier quiz, and even all the way up to an exam. These are all examples of using it for evaluations. Are there any other ways that you can use a Google form? There is one way for housekeeping as well. You can use it for a phone call log. With that being said, you can make this Google form and you can fill out like the student's name, you could fill out the date, and then when you're on the phone with someone or if you're emailing a parent, you can fill out the Google form. I will show you how to extrapolate the data in the Google Sheets video, but it might just be something you might be interested in for housekeeping in that regards. So why don't we go ahead and start with the basics? So if you haven't really built a library yet, a collection of your own forms, my suggestion to you is to start with a blank quiz. You can start with an assessment or you can start with a blank quiz. It's completely up to you. I'd rather, for these purposes, start you at the bare bones so I can show you how you can craft your own quiz to your liking. Now, the reason why I didn't choose blank is because when it defaults, this one is already made a quiz. A blank form isn't necessarily a quiz, and I'll show you in the settings what I'm talking about. So what happens is, here you have a blank quiz. You can entitle your form here. And for example, maybe I wish to call it, I don't know, maybe I'll call it Los Cuartos de la Casa Prueba. So maybe I'm going to call it the Rooms of the House quiz. Okay. Now, you can highlight that, Control C for copy. I could put that here, Control V for paste if I wanted to. Here, it's up to spaces allotted for you to write a description if you feel that's necessary. Then what happens is you see this blue line here. It means this is the field that you're editing. If you click over here, now you're in this question. All right. Now you'll notice that they don't number questions for you. So that's something that you would when you are typing. And you can start with your first question. So I'm just going to put it out there. Como se dice living room. Okay. So here I have this. You'll notice I only have one multiple choice option so far. This is usually the default question mode. We're going to go question by question and highlight all of the different types of questions that you can use on your Google form. So great. I have one multiple choice answer. How do I add another one? I simply click here, click here, click here. We know that usually multiple choice has 4 answers. So over here, I'm simply going to put any of the answers that might be true. And I will have el baño, and then I might have el dormitorio. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. This X, if I made a mistake, I could easily remove that answer. But then when I hover over each one, see this little box here? That's actually an add an image. Instead of having words or in addition to words, you can actually add an image as an answer. So if I didn't want words in Spanish, or if you were at a younger level in elementary school and you wanted children to answer with pictures, you absolutely could add images. Where would I have gotten those images? Well, maybe you did an extensive Google search and you did some screenshotting, selective screenshotting, and you saved them to either your Google Drive or you saved them to your Chromebook to your hard drive where that folder is in your files down here. And then you would simply upload them when you add the image. If you click on it, it gives you the option on where do you want to find that image so I can insert it. Upload comes from the computer. If you took a picture with the camera, you could take a live picture with you. If you already have a photos folder, your Google Drive, or you can simply do a Google image search right here. So that's a neat feature if you're looking for that. Now, I need to see some things here. If you wanted to make an audio comment, you can. I don't know if this works as an audio question. I might have to figure that out and get back to you guys. This toggle switch right here, we're going to make sure that this is required because this is one of the answers that we need, right? So how do I choose the correct answer? I go to answer key. Now, right now it's at 0 points. I want them to answer, so I may make this 1 point. I can make it a 5-point question. It doesn't matter. Then with these bubbles, I choose the correct answer. I can add answer feedback. So that means when the quiz is sent back to the student and they are reviewing their answers and they want to see what they got wrong, I can type this message that they will see. If I perhaps were in a science class and maybe someone didn't understand some type of concept, I could actually add a video explaining why their answer was wrong and why the right answer is what it is. Or I can send them a link to a website explaining that. So you really can take every question into a lot of detail. Great. So let me ask you this. I'm done here. Now I have to add another question. Well, if I'm choosing to make it a multiple choice quiz, do I really have to go to this box, add a question? There is a shortcut. See this symbol right here? This is the universal symbol for copy or duplicate. Now it took 4 answers, and now all I would have to do is number it this way. And I can ask another similar question. And then all I have to do is go to my answer key. See, it kept the point too. It kept it required. All I have to do is change my answer. It's no longer that, it's this. Done. So let's talk about the questions while we're in this. Janine, do we only get to write questions? Not at all. See this picture? You can put a picture as an answer, as a question. So I could have put a picture of a bathroom and they would only have to answer with the Spanish answer. There's also, for me and for language teachers, we have an issue with Google Translate. So what I would have to do is I would have to type it in a Google Doc, screenshot it, and insert it as a picture because then they can't translate the page. So I would have my question and the 4 answers in this picture, and then I would simply put A, B, C, or D. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to add another question. Should I duplicate it? I could, or I could simply add a question. Again, it defaults to multiple choice, but multiple choice is not the only choice. I can have checkboxes. Oh, that's interesting. What kind of question would I have checkboxes where I would have more than one answer as the right answer? Well, maybe if, for example, I can only go based on my personal experience. If I wanted students to check off out of an entire list all of the bebidas, which are drinks, and all of my answers would be in Spanish, they would simply check off however many drinks I listed or however many words in Spanish I listed, and they would have to pick only the drinks. So that's an interesting way of using this type of question. Now, again, if you're adding a new question, you don't want to get lost. It does say 1 point, but over here is not required. I want to make sure that that is required. Okay? Now, here's a neat feature that I want you to see. For this type of question and all of the other questions, I can shuffle the option order. Now, I know that when everybody's on a Chromebook and your eyes are on GoGuardian, you can only watch so much at a time. But to shuffle the option order is also kind of like a safety feature where if you have eyes wandering, that, their order might not be the same as the order in front of them. So that's another way to do things if you want to shuffle the answer order. They still have to choose the right answers. It doesn't matter what order they are in. Okay, so let's add another question. What other types of questions do they have? Well, check boxes. Here's a drop down. Okay. I haven't ever really used this, and I don't really understand what the difference is or what it would be used for. So I'm exploring it now with you, and I don't see anything different. I don't know what it looks like, but we're going to keep this here so maybe we can see what it looks like later on, because there's a neat feature I'm going to show you. Let's add another question. What else can we have? We also have, let's go up top. We have a short answer where you can have students write a short answer where, especially for language, if I wanted them to practice writing their vocabulary, I do have to say this. If I have the answer key, I would have to mark this by hand. So what would happen is there's no way I could possibly predict how a student's going to spell something because it's case sensitive, it's everything. So I cannot predict the inordinate amount of ways a child can answer. So this is something that I would have to do manually, and I would have to make sure that I grade that before I release the grade to the student. And of course, if you wanted to add another question and you wanted a long answer, the paragraph answer, we actually use this as the writing part of some of our tests, where if you're making a conscious decision that you're really only worried about content and not grammar and structure, then this might be another way for you to do this. And then you can use your mote to record any feedback to give the student. Let's see what else we can add. All fun stuff, right? So much to think about. If I was giving this where I wanted someone to upload something from their drive, files will be uploaded to the form owner's Google Drive. So if I wanted someone to send me something from their drive directly, I can use that here. This would be an option for them to do that. And you can format it however you wish to. Let's add another one. A linear scale, perhaps this could be for math. I'm not really sure if you have to number anything. I'm not really sure. Again, this was not for me really to use in my discipline, but if anyone else can figure out how to use it, please feel free to share with the group. Oh, I see what you're saying. If you're giving, what would you rate this out of this? It's funny, when it's in the edit mode, you can't really tell. I'm going to tell you this, that I've actually used this, and I have an example to show you, actually. Let's see. I believe this is it. So it's a multiple choice grid. So it kind of looks like a matching column, but there's no way for students in what this looks like to us to see it as a matching column. I'm going to show you a little hint. See this eyeball right here? This eyeball is a preview. You can actually see how the students are going to see it before you actually release it to them. Why do I like this feature? I use this feature at the end of the quiz when I think I'm finished creating it. I can take the quiz to see if my answers are correct. So what happens is when you click the preview, this is exactly how it's going to be presented to the students. So I had this multiple choice grid: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, dessert, meal. All they would do is, these are jumbled, so which one would be breakfast? So I'm going to choose this one. And then lunch is this one. And then dinner is this one. And then so forth. So I would use all my answers and then I would submit it. And then what would happen is I would view my score, and I got 6 out of 6. Thank goodness. I got them all right. So I use this as a self-check. Did I click all the right answers? Did every question have an answer? So it's kind of like a fail-safe for you before you send it to the kids. Now, I am going to tell you this. It actually records your answer. So pretend this was set to 0 when I click on responses. You'll see that my name is here because I took it. So all you would have to do before you send it to the kids, just to reset it, is you would delete all responses. That's all you would have to do, is delete all the responses. When you go to the response section, you would simply click delete all responses. Okay, back to where we were. So that could be good if you can think of anything that you're using. Require response in each row? Yes. Now, if you have more than one answer here, perhaps because you'll have to pick the right answer, each one is going to be 1 point. So you will build upon what's here. So this one question could be up to as many points as you need for however many questions you're going to have. What else can we do? We can have a checkbox grid. So this can also look like something where instead of a multiple choice, you can have a checkbox. So I can have something where if I did a listening activity, again, I can only think of Spanish right now. If you had a listening activity and you had to check off what the people ordered for breakfast. So I would have this list of all different types of foods and drinks in Spanish, and they would have to choose what each person had based on what they heard me say. So that's one way to do it. I also have another way to do it. So again, you would need to make sure that everything was there. So I know this is a long video, but let's go ahead and see what it would look like. So if I click that preview, granted, I didn't make these questions in full depth here, but you see all these options. This was that scale, that linear scale. When you add more information, you'll be able to see it much better. I'm going to pause here so we can get down to the settings and the behind the scenes.